He had always considered his life calm and predictable. But one summer morning, coming home after his run, Daniel noticed that his wife was looking at him differently, as if she was seeing his true self for the very first time. And that evening, when he checked his phone, there was a new message: "Leave Emily alone or you'll regret it." But before you get comfortable, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And let me know in the comments which city you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. I'm really curious to see where everyone is joining from. Now, settle in and get ready because we're about to begin. Every morning, just after the sun crept above the suburban rooftops, Daniel laced up his running shoes and slipped quietly out of the townhouse he shared with his wife, Allison. The world was still half asleep, wrapped in dew and the gentle haze of summer. Daniel enjoyed the peace these early jogs brought, the steady rhythm of his feet on the pavement, and the quiet promise of the day ahead. Allison usually slept late, her auburn hair fanned across her pillow, her breathing soft and even. She was beautiful in that understated, natural way. Warm hazel eyes, a gentle curve to her waist, long legs she usually hid beneath oversized pajamas. Daniel often lingered to watch her for a moment before heading out, but recently he found himself eager for the fresh air. It was during one of these runs that Daniel first saw her, a young woman stretching on the grass near the mailbox, her silhouette backlit by a golden morning light. She wore black running shorts that hugged her hips and a fitted pale blue sports bra, revealing a toned stomach and an athletic hourglass figure. Her skin was a creamy olive, her hair long and dark, tied in a high ponytail that swung with each movement. As she turned, Daniel caught a glimpse of her eyes, bright blue, sharp with curiosity, and the playful curve of her lips. Her name, he soon learned, was Emily. She had recently moved into the house across the street. Her voice was melodic, confident, and she smiled easily, her laughter ringing out like a promise. Daniel found himself slowing down to match her pace, asking questions, sharing stories about the neighborhood. On their third morning running together, a light drizzle began to fall. They took shelter beneath the eaves of her porch. Daniel noticed the raindrops glistening on Emily's collarbone, her sports bra clinging slightly to her body, hinting at the soft swell of her breasts. She glanced at him with a sly smile, and for just a moment, reached out to brush a raindrop from his cheek. The touch was gentle, electric, her fingers lingering a little longer than necessary. The moment passed, but something changed in the air between them. They talked a little closer now, laughed a little more, and Daniel found himself thinking of Emily long after the run was over. He told himself it was harmless. After all, Allison trusted him, and their marriage was comfortable, safe. But there was an energy in Emily's presence, a thrill that Daniel hadn't felt in years. He caught himself checking the window to see if Emily was outside, waking up a few minutes earlier just in case she was waiting by the mailbox. Allison noticed his new enthusiasm for morning runs. She teased him about it over breakfast, her smile warm, her hand brushing his. But Daniel felt a flicker of guilt. He didn't want to think about what it meant that he was looking forward to Emily's company more than his wife's. One Saturday, as they finished their run, Emily invited Daniel in for a glass of water. Her living room was sparse but cozy, decorated with soft throws and scented candles. Emily moved easily, confident in her body. A fitted white tank top now replacing her sports bra, soft grey shorts hugging her hips. As she poured water, Daniel couldn't help but notice the subtle outline of lace beneath her tank top, the gentle curve of her breasts, the way her shorts accentuated the roundness of her hips and the firmness of her legs. They sat close on her couch, knees almost touching. Emily's voice lowered, her fingers brushing Daniel's arm as she laughed at his jokes. The air was thick with anticipation, every word and gesture charged with something unsaid. When their eyes met, Daniel felt a pulse of excitement run through him, both exhilarating and terrifying. He left Emily's house that morning with his heart pounding, telling himself he was just making a new friend. But the memory of her touch lingered, haunting his thoughts long into the night. Daniel's morning runs took on a new life, colored by anticipation. He started going to bed earlier, choosing his running clothes with unexpected care. Alison, wrapped in her soft cotton robe, would wave him off each morning with a gentle smile. He told himself that nothing had changed, that he was still the same man. But he knew it was not entirely true. Emily was always waiting by the mailbox, stretching, her long ponytail catching the first rays of light. Her outfits seemed to change daily, sometimes navy leggings and a loose pastel tank, other times a red crop top that hugged her body and matching black running shorts. Her figure always striking. Daniel could not help but notice every detail. The delicate strap of a lilac sports bra peeking from under her tank. The way her shorts revealed toned, shapely legs, and the perfect curve of her hips. Her breasts were full, the fabric of her top sometimes outlining their natural roundness, and her waist slim, giving way to a peach-shaped athletic backside that Daniel found impossible to ignore. Alison was different. She favored loose blouses and comfortable jeans. But she, too, was beautiful in her own way. A gentle elegance, a quiet sensuality. She wore lacy white underwear beneath her clothes, a secret only Daniel knew. Her chest was modest, but perfect for her petite frame, and her curves soft and inviting. He tried not to compare them, but Emily's energy was hard to resist. The days began to blur into each other. Daniel and Emily would run through leafy neighborhoods, their conversations growing more personal with every mile. They started sharing secrets, stories of childhood, college escapades, half-remembered dreams. Emily spoke about her recent move, hinting at a breakup, her words always laced with laughter. After each run, Emily invited Daniel in. Sometimes she would disappear for a moment and return in fresh clothes. A loose off-shoulder t-shirt, short denim shorts, bare feet. The sight of her moving about the kitchen, the subtle hint of matching blue lace underwear visible when she leaned over the counter was intoxicating. Daniel tried to keep things friendly, but the air was heavy with unspoken possibility. One morning, as Emily handed him a mug of coffee, her fingers brushed his hand. The touch lingered. Daniel felt his heart skip a beat. Emily's eyes searched his face, lips slightly parted. She moved closer, her breath warm against his neck. For a moment, he forgot everything. His marriage, his promises, the world outside. Emily's voice was soft. "I know you're married. I'm not trying to ruin anything. But I like being with you, Daniel. Her hand slid up his arm, her body pressing gently into his side. Daniel's thoughts raced. He wanted to pull away, but desire held him fast. He reached out, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face, feeling her skin warm beneath his fingertips. They did not cross the final line that day, but the distance between them narrowed dangerously. When Daniel returned home, Alison was waiting in the kitchen, pouring herself coffee. She wore a pale pink blouse and faded jeans, her hair tied in a loose bun. There was a softness in her gaze, but also something else, a trace of uncertainty. She asked about his runs, her voice casual, but Daniel sensed a hint of something more. "Do you enjoy your new jogging partner?" she teased lightly. Daniel smiled, but his answer felt hollow. As the weeks passed, the connection between Daniel and Emily deepened. They texted during the day, sharing inside jokes and photos from their runs. Emily would send him selfies, her face flushed from exercise, strands of dark hair sticking to her cheeks, her sports bra accentuating her curves. Daniel replied, trying to keep it innocent, but his messages were often tinged with flirtation. Emily was an enigma. Sometimes she seemed distant, glancing at her phone or abruptly ending their conversations. Once, Daniel caught sight of a message on her screen, just a name, unknown to him, emoji. It left him with a strange, uneasy feeling. One morning, rain poured down in sheets. Instead of running, Emily invited Daniel inside. She wore a white t-shirt and black shorts, her damp hair falling in waves. As they talked, she moved closer, her thigh brushing his. Her hand found his, fingers entwining. For a moment, they sat in silence, listening to the storm. Then Emily leaned in, pressing her lips softly to his cheek. Her kiss was gentle, uncertain, a question more than a promise. Daniel turned toward her, their faces inches apart. He felt the heat between them, the trembling tension. They did not speak about it afterward, but their glances grew longer, their silences deeper. Daniel knew he was in dangerous territory, but the thrill was addictive. Back at home, Alison began to notice the change. She watched Daniel more closely, asked him questions she never had before. One night, she stood by their bedroom window, watching the rain. Her reflection in the glass was fragile, uncertain. Daniel felt a surge of guilt, but also resentment. Why should he feel trapped? He thought of Emily's smile, the softness of her skin, the promise in her eyes. He wondered how long he could keep living this double life, balancing on the thin line between desire and responsibility, honesty and deception. The intrigue was growing, a quiet storm gathering on the horizon. It was a Friday evening when the calm finally broke. Daniel returned home after his usual morning run, showered, and got ready for work. Alison greeted him in the hallway, her hazel eyes watching him with an expression he could not read. She wore a pale blue summer dress, cinched at the waist, the delicate lace of her bra just visible beneath the thin fabric, her chestnut hair falling in loose waves around her face. He kissed her cheek, feeling the familiar softness, but there was a chill to her touch he had not noticed before. Alison had taken the day off, she said, planning to spend it with her friend Jessica from down the street. Daniel left the house, not thinking much about it. But as the day wore on, an uneasy feeling crept into his thoughts. Emily had not answered his latest message. When he called, her phone went straight to voicemail. Restless, Daniel cut work short and drove back to the neighborhood. He parked his car at the curb, glancing over at Emily's house. Her blinds were drawn, and her mailbox was stuffed with flyers. He checked his phone again. No answer. He was just about to head home when he saw Allison on the sidewalk, walking briskly with Jessica. The two women paused outside Emily's house, glancing up at the windows. Daniel felt his stomach tighten. Why was Allison here? Jessica gave Allison a quick hug and left. Allison hesitated at Emily's gate, then, to Daniel's shock, let herself in. Daniel's heart pounded. He hesitated only a moment before crossing the street and slipping quietly around the side of the house, staying out of sight. He peered through the kitchen window. Allison was standing inside, calling Emily's name. Emily appeared in the doorway, wearing a loose white t-shirt and grey shorts. Her hair damp from a shower, skin glowing. The shirt clung to her body, hinting at the soft curves beneath. Daniel's breath caught as he saw Allison's face, caught between confusion and realization. Allison spoke first, her voice steady but strained. "Are you Emily? I'm Daniel's wife." Emily looked surprised, then composed herself. She nodded, inviting Allison to sit. They spoke quietly at first, voices muffled by the walls. Daniel felt exposed, guilty, but unable to move. As the conversation grew heated, Allison's voice rose. "Have you been seeing my husband? Don't lie to me." Emily hesitated, her blue eyes flashing. She bit her lip and glanced away. "We run together." "That's all, I promise." But Allison was not convinced. Her cheeks flushed, her breath coming faster. "You're lying. I see how he looks at you." "I've seen your photos on his phone." Emily's eyes narrowed. For a moment, silence hung in the air, heavy with tension. Then, in a move that left Daniel frozen in shock, Emily reached out and placed her hand on Allison's arm, her thumb tracing gentle circles on her skin. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone," Emily whispered, "but I won't apologize for who I am." Daniel felt as though the world had tilted on its axis. He stepped back from the window, heart pounding, not sure what to do. He heard Allison's voice, hurt, angry, but also strangely curious. "You're beautiful, Emily. I can see why he's drawn to you. But I love him. He's my husband." Emily was silent for a long moment, then said softly, "Maybe he needs something more." The words stung. Daniel felt the weight of his choices pressing down on him. He moved quietly away, afraid of being discovered. He returned home and sat in the empty living room, staring at the wall, trying to process what he had witnessed. Was this the end? Had Allison discovered everything? Did she blame him, or herself, or Emily? That evening, Allison came home, her face pale, her hands trembling. She did not speak at first. She changed into a long silken nightgown, pale cream, almost translucent, revealing the elegant curve of her hips, the lace of her matching underwear beneath. She stood in the doorway, watching Daniel. "I saw her. she said at last, her voice brittle. She admitted it. You should have told me the truth. Daniel stood, wanting to reach for her, but Alison stepped back. Her expression was a storm of anger, confusion, and pain. Yet later, as the night deepened, Alison slipped into bed beside him. She pressed herself to his back, her arm wrapping around his chest. There was a desperation in her touch, her fingers tracing his skin, her breath warm on his neck. Slowly, Daniel turned to face her. Their lips met, the kiss fierce and needy, more intense than any in months. Alison's hands moved over his body, her touch lingering on his chest, his shoulders, her body pressing into him. For a moment, the world shrank to just the two of them, the pain, the anger, the longing all blending into something raw and honest. Their bodies entwined beneath the sheets, exploring each other with a hunger born of fear and desire, as if trying to reclaim something slipping away. Afterward, Alison cried softly into Daniel's shoulder. He held her close, guilt and love warring inside him. The next morning, Alison was gone before Daniel woke up. On the kitchen table was a note. I need some time. Please, do not call me. Daniel sat alone, the shock of the past day settling in his chest. He realized nothing would ever be the same. He stepped outside into the morning light, uncertain of what would come next, but feeling the consequences of every choice he had made. Emily's house was quiet, the blinds drawn. The world seemed eerily still, waiting for the next move in this complicated, fragile game. The days after Alison's departure blurred together in Daniel's mind. He moved through the empty house like a ghost, haunted by memories and unanswered questions. He tried calling Alison twice, but she did not pick up. Her absence filled every corner of their home. The faint scent of her perfume on the pillow, her favorite mug in the dish rack, the small things that spoke of her presence. Daniel found himself walking past Emily's house more often. Her windows remained shuttered, the mailbox overflowing. He wondered if she too had disappeared. Guilt gnawed at him, but so did curiosity. He replayed the scene between Alison and Emily in his mind, over and over, searching for clues. One evening, as dusk settled over the neighborhood, Daniel saw movement behind Emily's curtains. He hesitated at her doorstep, then knocked. After a long moment, Emily opened the door, dressed in an oversized navy t-shirt and soft pale blue shorts. Her hair was loose, falling over her shoulders in gentle waves. She looked tired, shadows under her bright blue eyes, but still impossibly beautiful. He stepped inside. The house was dim, the only light coming from a flickering candle on the kitchen table. Emily moved quietly, almost cautiously, as if waiting for something to break. They sat in silence for a while, sipping tea. Daniel tried to read her expression. He noticed the small details. Her delicate fingers curled around the cup, the elegant line of her collarbone, the slight tremor in her voice. Where have you been? He asked softly. Emily looked away. I needed time to think. Alison, she was hurt. I never wanted that. I'm not proud of what happened. There was something she was not saying. Daniel could sense it. The tension in her shoulders, the way her gaze darted to the darkened hallway. As the conversation grew more intimate, Emily reached across the table, her hand brushing Daniel's. The touch lingered, her thumb tracing slow circles on his skin. In the candlelight, her shirt slipped off one shoulder, revealing a thin strap of midnight blue lace. Daniel's breath caught as Emily leaned in, her lips brushing his cheek, her hair falling softly around them. She whispered, "Do you regret it?" Her question hung in the air, and Daniel could only shake his head, unable to speak. They sat like that for a long time, the silence filled with the unsaid. Afterward, Emily grew distant again. She stood, pacing the living room. "I need to tell you something," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I did not move here by accident. I knew who you were, Daniel. I knew about you and Allison before I even moved in." Daniel stared at her, stunned. "What do you mean?" Emily wrapped her arms around herself, her body tense. "My ex-boyfriend, Evan, is Allison's cousin. When we broke up, he told me things. About you, about your marriage. I wanted a fresh start. But when I saw you that first morning, I could not help myself." A cold shiver ran down Daniel's spine. He thought back to their first meeting, the ease with which Emily fit into his life. Had it all been coincidence, or was there something more? Emily looked close to tears. "I liked you, Daniel. Really. But there were things I could not tell you. I thought it would not matter, but now—" She broke off, turning away. In that moment, Daniel felt a strange surge of protectiveness. He stood, reaching for Emily. She melted into his arms, her body trembling. Their lips met in a soft, uncertain kiss, her hands clutching his shirt. Daniel felt the ache of longing and regret. Their bodies pressed close together in the half-light. Emily's breath caught as he trailed gentle kisses along her neck, his hands finding the curve of her waist beneath the loose fabric. For a while, there was nothing but the heat of their embrace, the desperate need to forget the outside world. Later, Daniel lay awake in Emily's bed, staring at the ceiling. The room was filled with shadows, the only sound the distant hum of traffic. He tried to make sense of what Emily had said. Was she sent here to watch him? Was it all just a cruel twist of fate? The questions circled endlessly in his mind. The next morning, Daniel awoke to find Emily gone. On the pillow beside him was a note. "I'm sorry. There are things I cannot explain yet. Please, trust me." He dressed and wandered back into the bright morning. The world felt changed, every shadow holding secrets, every face a potential clue. As Daniel walked past the houses, he noticed a silver sedan parked across the street. A man sat inside, sunglasses hiding his eyes, watching Daniel closely before driving away. Daniel's pulse quickened. Was he imagining things, or was someone following him? Days passed, and Emily did not return his calls. The neighborhood felt colder, quieter. Daniel began to see the world with new eyes, paranoid, uncertain, questioning every encounter. One night, he dreamed of Emily, her body curled against his, her hand pressed to his chest. In the dream, she whispered secrets he could not remember upon waking, her hair spilling over his face, her laughter echoing in the darkness. He awoke with a sense of loss, haunted by the feeling that something important was slipping through his fingers. the mystery only deepened. Who was watching him? Why had Emily really come? And what secrets still lingered, hidden in the quiet streets and darkened windows of his perfect suburban life? Daniel knew he would not rest until he had answers. Daniel's life became a maze of unanswered questions. Alison remained silent, her phone always off, her absence a growing ache in his heart. Emily had vanished from the neighborhood, her house dark and lifeless, windows blank and empty. Even Daniel's morning runs lost their purpose, the old routine hollow without the soft rhythm of Emily's laughter or the gentle encouragement in Alison's voice. Rumors began to swirl. Daniel noticed neighbors watching him through curtains. Mrs. Benson, the elderly woman across the street, who used to greet him every morning, now turned away. He caught the wary glance of Alison's friend Jessica as she walked her dog. One afternoon, Daniel's old friend Marcus appeared at his door, concern written in the lines around his eyes. "Is everything all right?" Marcus asked, his tone casual, but Daniel could hear the weight behind the word. Daniel shrugged, unsure how much to share. "Just some problems at home." Marcus hesitated. "Alison called me last night. She sounded upset. She said you might need someone to talk to." His words stung, a reminder of the growing chasm between Daniel and his wife. Daniel forced a smile. "Thanks, Marcus. I'll be okay." But he was not okay. Each day without Alison or Emily felt heavier than the last. At night, he lay in their empty bed, replaying every conversation, every decision. His guilt grew sharper, twisting with regret and longing. One evening, as Daniel took out the trash, he saw a car pull up outside Emily's house. He recognized the man who stepped out. A tall, athletic figure with close-cropped blonde hair and sharp features. It was Evan, Alison's cousin, Emily's ex-boyfriend. Evan knocked on the door and waited. When no one answered, he paced the porch, talking on his phone in hushed, angry tones. Daniel watched from the shadows, his pulse racing. Was Evan looking for Emily? Or was he there for Daniel? As Evan turned, his gaze swept across the yard, landing on Daniel. Their eyes met, just for a moment, but it was enough to send a shiver down Daniel's spine. Later that night, Daniel received a message from an unknown number. "You need to leave Emily alone. This is not your business." Daniel's hands shook as he read the words. Fear mingled with anger. Who was threatening him? Evan? Someone else? He felt trapped, caught in a web of secrets he did not understand. Desperate for comfort, Daniel went for a run in the darkness, his feet pounding the empty streets. He ended up outside Emily's house, unable to stay away. To his shock, the door was slightly open, the hallway glowing with warm golden light. Daniel stepped inside, heart pounding. Emily stood in the living room, wearing a soft grey sweater and fitted black leggings, her hair damp from a recent shower. Her bare feet made no sound on the wooden floor. She looked up, startled, then smiled faintly. "I was hoping you would come." They stood in silence for a moment, the air thick with unspoken words. Then, as if drawn by invisible strings, Daniel crossed the room and pulled Emily into his arms. The kiss was urgent, hungry, born of loneliness, fear, the need to feel alive. Daniel's hand slid over Emily's sweater, tracing the line of her waist, feeling the soft swell of her breasts beneath the fabric. Emily pressed her body against him, her breath quickening, her fingers threading through his hair. In the low light, Daniel guided Emily to the couch, their bodies tangling together. He gently pulled her sweater over her head, revealing a delicate black lace bra that framed her full chest, the straps slipping over her shoulders. His lips found her collarbone, her neck, the hollow at the base of her throat. Emily arched beneath his touch, her legs wrapping around his hips, her hands exploring the planes of his back. For a while, nothing else existed. Their passion, their fear, their need for each other burned away the rest of the world. Afterward, they sat together on the couch, Emily's head resting on Daniel's shoulder. The quiet returned, but it was different now, heavier, burdened by the truth they could not escape. "I did not mean for any of this to happen," Emily whispered. "I just wanted to start over. But Evan, he will not let me go. And now you are caught in the middle." Daniel squeezed her hand. "I will not let anyone hurt you." Emily shook her head, her eyes shining with tears. "You cannot promise that. There are things you do not know." As if on cue, a loud knock sounded at the door. Daniel tensed, but Emily motioned for him to stay still. Through the frosted glass, Daniel saw Evan's shadow. "Emily, open the door. We need to talk," Evan called, his voice tight with frustration. Emily hesitated, then stood. "Wait here," she whispered. Daniel listened, heart pounding, as Emily and Evan argued in the hallway. Their voices rose and fell. Anger, pleading, a sharp edge of desperation. Daniel could not make out every word, but he heard Emily's voice crack, heard Evan say, "You are making a mistake. He will only hurt you." At last, Evan stormed out, slamming the door. Emily returned, her face pale, her eyes rimmed with red. Daniel pulled her into his arms, but she trembled with fear and exhaustion. "I am so tired of running," Emily said softly. "I do not want to hide anymore." Daniel held her close, wishing he could protect her from the storm that seemed to close in around them both. That night, as Daniel walked home under the stars, he felt the weight of the conflict settle on his shoulders. Allison was gone. Emily was in danger, and his world was unraveling. He knew the time for secrets was over. Whatever happened next, the truth would have to come out, even if it cost him everything. The following morning, Daniel awoke with a sense of finality heavy in his chest. He had barely slept, replaying the events of the previous night over and over. The sun was just rising, casting golden stripes across his empty living room, when his phone finally buzzed. It was a text from Allison. "We need to talk. I am coming home today." Daniel's heart raced. He texted back quickly, but she did not reply. He showered and dressed, straightened the house, and tried to calm the swirl of nerves inside him. He barely noticed when there was a soft knock at the door. Emily stood on the porch, looking more vulnerable than ever. She wore a white blouse and light blue jeans, her hair in a simple braid over one shoulder. Her figure, athletic yet feminine, seemed smaller now, her confidence replaced by hesitation. Inside, she sat on the edge of the couch, twisting her hands in her lap. "Daniel, I have to tell you everything. No more secrets." He nodded, his pulse quickening. Emily drew a shaky breath. Evan was not just my ex-boyfriend. He was obsessed with me after we broke up. He followed me here, trying to control me, to scare me. At first, I thought moving would help, but then I learned he was related to Allison. When I saw you that first morning, I felt something real. I wanted to get away from Evan, but I did not mean to get between you and your wife. Daniel took her hand gently. "Emily, you are not the only one with regrets. But I care about you. I need to make things right, with Allison and with myself." Emily wiped away a tear. "I'm leaving, Daniel. Evan will not stop, and I need to start over, truly start over somewhere new. I am sorry for everything. Please tell Allison that I never meant to hurt her." He wanted to argue, to ask her to stay, but he saw the determination in her eyes. He embraced her, holding her close one last time. Their goodbye was soft and bittersweet. Daniel's lips met Emily's in a lingering kiss, hands sliding gently down her arms, memorizing the warmth and shape of her body. Emily's breath shivered as he held her close, her fingers tracing the line of his jaw. For a final moment, they allowed themselves to feel the full depth of their connection. A quiet, trembling intimacy that was equal parts sorrow and gratitude. When Emily left, Daniel sat for a long time in silence, letting the stillness wash over him. He knew that this chapter had ended. Whatever happened next would be built on truth, not secrets. That afternoon, Allison came home. She was tired but determined, her hazel eyes brighter than Daniel remembered. She wore a simple lilac dress, her hair pulled back, and though she looked fragile, there was new strength in the way she carried herself. They sat together in the kitchen, sunlight pooling on the table between them. For a while, neither spoke. Finally, Daniel broke the silence. "I'm sorry, Allison. I hurt you. I let myself get lost, and I almost lost you." She nodded, her voice soft. "I know about Emily. She told me everything. I was angry, hurt, but I understand now. You are not the only one who felt something missing. Maybe we got too comfortable. Maybe we forgot how to really see each other." There was a long pause, and then Allison reached across the table, taking Daniel's hand in hers. Later that evening, after a long conversation full of tears and apologies, Daniel and Allison found themselves in their bedroom. The air between them changed. There was no urgency, no desperation, just a slow, careful rediscovery. Allison let her hair down, her dress slipping off her shoulders, as Daniel traced his fingers gently down her back. Their bodies moved together with the patience of old lovers and the curiosity of new ones, exploring each other's touch with fresh tenderness. In the golden light, Allison smiled, her eyes sparkling as Daniel kissed her softly, holding her as if for the first time. Afterwards, Allison curled into Daniel's arms. For the first time in weeks, he felt a sense of peace. Over the next few days, things began to settle. Daniel and Allison talked openly about what had happened, what they wanted, what they needed to change. The pain did not disappear, but it softened, replaced by hope. Emily's house remained empty. Occasionally, Daniel saw the blinds flutter, but the car was gone and the mailbox stayed empty. One day, a moving truck appeared, and by evening, Emily's presence had faded, like a dream. Life slowly returned to its own rhythm. Daniel still ran in the mornings, sometimes joined by Allison, sometimes alone. They found new routines, dinners outside, long walks in the dusk, moments of laughter that felt real again. Once, Daniel found a small envelope on his doorstep. Inside was a simple note in Emily's handwriting. "Thank you for letting me feel alive again. Take care of yourself and her. E." He smiled, tucking the note away. The story did not end with grand declarations or heartbreak. There were scars, yes, but there was also forgiveness. A quiet understanding that life is made of imperfect choices, second chances, and the courage to move forward. Daniel learned that even the most beautiful distractions could not replace what was true. In the end, he and Allison stood together, a little wiser, a little more fragile, but facing the future hand in hand. And somewhere out there, Emily ran along a new path, the morning sun on her face, ready to begin again.